Hello, everyone. Good morning and good afternoon. Um, so let's give a little bit more time, like 1 more minute before we get started. Hello, everyone. Let's get started. I'm James, so giving you some introduction first. I'm James. I'm the APAC go-to-market lead for Google Analytics. Today, I'm very happy that we can share some of the latest news to Google Analytics, and also we are preparing for a series of the training to you. And today, we are going to talk about the product roadmap and how it's evolving since the last time we launched Google Analytics 4. Um, Yes, for some questions, actually, I can saw your comments live. If there's any questions, feel free to type in your comment line, and then I will answer some of the question later on. We have some FAQ time. Actually, we are having a series of training for our partners for November. So today is about some product roadmaps and a very high level introduction to Google Analytics 4, because we are already launching GA4 since a while. And also we realized that there are some media agencies or other partners that are interested in this session. So we are going to give you some of the high-level updates firstly, and then we will deep dive to a little bit about the roadmaps and also what we are planning to work on in 2022. And next week, we will talk about some of the latest updates on the enterprise version, which is the GA360. We are also launching GA360 for GA4, so we call that the new GA360. So next week, we are going to talk you through about some of the changes, what is the pricing, and also how we are able to do different things in the new GA360. And the last one will be the end of November. We are going to have a more technical details around what we are mentioning today when we talk about different features, and especially when you are trying to migrate your customers from the Universal Analytics to GA4. You may want to know some tips when you do the migration. So at the end of November, we are hosting another session for a more technical deep dive on those GA4 features. So remember to register for the rest of the events and also the training so that you can understand more about that later on. As I mentioned, I will give some of the high level introduction firstly around Google Analytics, and also some of you may know those features, but some of you may not. So also giving you some of the highlights about what we are launching recently. So if we are going to talk about Google Analytics 4, this is a quite long journey, right? So previously, I think previously means like 15 years ago, we are launching Google Analytics for the first time to help our advertisers or our website owners to understand how their business is working in their website. And then we also realized that there are some changes for the user behaviors, right? So some people tend to use app recently to engage with our customers, engage with our business. So that's why there are like a few different attempts. For example, Google Analytics has the SDK version to try to collect all the information from app. But also, in recently, we also have the service called Firebase, which is helping our app developer to integrate and also design new features based on a very open, ready to use features and APIs to enable their app tracking and also storage capabilities. So Firebase Analytics is introduced since then. And then we integrate all the different systems from web and app by the latest Google Analytics 4. That's why we are calling that Google Analytics 4, because it's integrating web and app service together so that our advertisers and our website owners can have a better view on the integrated cross-platform, cross-channel data into the same property. That's why we are launching the GA4 and then it's out of beta, so it's already a fully launched product. But also, it is there are many different features that is keep rolling up, so you can enjoy more information and more features after we are launching those features going forward. So that's why we are trying to introduce you. GA4, and also we are trying to help our customers to migrate their usage from the existing classic or universal analytics to GA4. And also, you are realizing that actually there are many changes from external. So we are realize that there are more and more attention to user privacy. So it's already a hot topic, right? So the user privacy is actually changing how our business can engage with our customers, and how we should respect our user privacy preference to in terms of how we collect data and how we are using our customers' data. And also, we are seeing some of the changes from the technology side. So from the browser perspective, we are seeing third-party cookie is not really a feasible solution in the future, not a sustainable way to collect our user data. So that's why there are many changes going forward in terms of the privacy setup. And also, Google Analytics 4 is considering that seriously. So in many different features in the future, we are also incorporate all the different privacy consideration into our product development. So in the later session, we will talk about how Google Analytics can help our customers, even though they cannot collect the full set of their data set in the future. So when it comes to so many changes in terms of privacy changes and also our customers' behavior changes, so actually our marketer is now facing a lot more fierce challenge compared to like 15 years ago when we first launched Google Analytics. So we think that our customers will want to understand more better about how customers and how users are engaged in different platforms, because business is now creating websites and also keep creating apps to engage with their customers. So a single platform to collect and also consolidate all the information into a single one is super useful and also super important. The second one is how we can leverage those kind of data to have a better understanding on what next action our customer or our users will do. For example, if we are collecting all the informations, all the purchase behaviors, how we can have a better understanding and better insight on whether the customer is going to purchase or is going to churn because they are not satisfied with our service. So this is a quite challenge to our recent marketers. And the third one is about the customer journey is similar to our cross-platform and cross-channel integration. So how we can understand better about different, for example, acquisition channel, how our customers are able to connect with our business. So understanding that would also be super beneficial. The last but not least is about media activation. So after we analyze all the informations and we have a better understanding to our customers, how we can do a better action in terms of user acquisition or re-engagement to different platforms. So this is also a very challenging in the recent years when it comes to like multiple channels, we can reach out to our customers. So that's why we are introducing Google Analytics 4. So for Google Analytics 4 is built for the future. Why we are saying that? Because we are considering all the changes and make it a future-proof product. So in the future, you can anticipate that the data collection will be cross-platform. So Google Analytics 4 introduce web stream data collection, and also from the app perspective, we have the Firebase SDK to help you collect all the data into the single platform. And also we are introducing Google's machine learning technology to our platform, to our product. So not only about user prediction, but also how we can smartly understand if the customer is changing their behavior, or if our business is acting differently because of the user behavior changes. We can realize that in a faster way and in a more intelligent way. And the third one is when it comes to year after cookie deprecation. So we all know that Chrome is right now having a timeline that 2023 might be the time when it comes to a third-party cookie deprecation. So Google Analytics 4 is right now already built by the first-party cookie-based data collection. And also we will introduce more modeling capabilities in the future to mitigate if the customer is collecting their data without, for example, without user identification, how we can incorporate those data back to our usual measurable data set. So that's why we are also introducing those features back to Google Analytics 4. When it comes to machine learning and data modeling, actually there are a few different use cases and also infrastructures that we are building in Google Analytics 4. So from the bottom line, you can see there are multiple different modeling capabilities to help mitigating if our customer is, for example, they are not consent, or they deny the consent to collect the data. Actually, we are able to build some non-user identifiable model to collect the information from our user behavior, but without collecting the user identification. So based on that, we are having some aggregated data, then we can build some machine learning model to understand if the customer is using for, or if they are having some intention to do the conversion, how we can incorporate that into our decision-making process. So conversion modeling is one of the biggest modeling technology that we will build based on the what kind of information we can collect in the future. And the second one is about the similar audience modeling, which is very similar to the third one, which is the behavior modeling. So we are trying to understand whether the customer is going to take some action based on the historical behavior or historical data that we are able to observe. So that's why you can also see that based on this kind of information, we can have a better understanding, even though the customer may lost some of the signals by, for example, different browsers or by their different consensus. But also very importantly, in the middle ground, you can see the new user ID options. Actually, we are introducing user ID in the new way. So if the customer is able to provide us their first-party data, we can integrate that into Google Analytics. So we are able to connect for those data that is associated with a user ID, actually we can build a unified single view for those customers. So which is super powerful to collect customers or our business owners' first-party data into Google Analytics 4, so that they can have a better view on whether the user is using a cross-device to engage with their business, or we can have a better view on cross-platform data or activities. So this is integrated single into the GA4. So that's why based on those kind of capabilities, we are able to have a better measurement on the media campaigns, and also have a better understanding about our audience activations, and also how we can better understand our user behavior from a single point of view perspective. So when it comes to new Google Analytics 4 features, I think for the first one is very basic and fundamental, which is collecting all the informations, no matter is with first-party data or not, we are able to collect them into a single platform. And secondly, after that, we are definitely able to analyze all the information and generate insight by not only rule-based, but also machine learning based insight, so that we can have a better understanding about the business situation. And also, we are able to connect all the informations from our internal systems, for example, CRM systems, or if you have like a POS system, you want to integrate different different integration with Google Analytics is possible by, for example, data imports or measurement protocol. We are still able to provide those APIs in the future to help you better integrate your data different type of the data from different data sets to Google Analytics. And the last one is how we can have a more flexibility on generating insights. So we are also redesigning the whole exploration features in Google Analytics, so that you don't really need to understand how to write, for example, SQL to do the analysis. Basically, you can control in the UI, and also you are able to generate reports to your business owners or to your different colleagues who may not have those capabilities. You are still able to generate like different formats of the reporting to your business owners. So now we are talking about some features that we are launching this year. So I'm sure that you may know some of this, but it's worth mentioning that the first one is definitely a highlight. So if your customer is collecting, for example, purchase information from their website, mostly e-commerce customers or gaming or app customers, if they are collecting purchase information from their website or from their app, Google Analytics are now able to create several different modeling and prediction capabilities to you. So right now we are able to predict whether the customer is going to purchase based on the historical information, or if the customer is going to churn, not going to return to your business because maybe because they are not satisfied, or because they are not interested anymore, or if they are going to have a large amount of purchase in the future. So we are not only able to predict whether the customer is going to purchase, but we can also predict the revenue based on their historical behavior. So based on these machine learning capabilities, you are now able to, for example, create your own audience with like different setups. So maybe you can set up whether the customer is going to purchase our product in, for example, recent 7 days with several amount of users. You can choose whether it is um, accurate but less people, or we would like to reach out to more people but with lesser prediction. Is already able to do that if the customer is collecting purchase behavior. And also those analysis is also able to do in GA4. So which means if you are logging into the UI and into the exploration feature, you are now able to select your customers based on the prediction result so that you can understand, for example, conversion rate and expected conversion rate for those predictive users, and also validate whether the customer is high value customers or not. So which is a super important features. If you are not uh, realize the feature, feel free to log into the account and see whether the customer is eligible or not. And the second one is more about user acquisitions. So I'm sure that you will understand if the customer is acquiring users, for example, from different channels. You would like to understand whether the customer is coming through, for example, a search channel or social channel or email address. So based on the, for example, UTM parameters and all the data integration with Google Ads, you are now able to have a better understanding about the cross-channel attributions, which means you are now able to compare different um, attribution models, for example, last click model or first click model or linear model. And also, we are now also launching the data-driven attribution, which is a machine learning-based calculation for all the different credits from different channels, so that you are now able to have a better view based on the data-driven results. So this is now also launching in Google Analytics. So you can try to check later on. We believe that at the end of this year, the DDA modeling will be fully launched after that. And also, you are now able to check, for example, path analysis, so that you can understand whether the customer is going using a email as a first channel to engage with your business. And also you are able to see whether the email as a first channel, is it perform better when it comes to the first engagement versus the last engagement. You are now able to do the model comparison and also compare how different users are going through your website and app based on the path analysis. So this is also very powerful. So if you right now, I believe you are able to see the reporting from the UI. And also if you are interested in DDA modeling, I believe at the end of this year, you can see that as well. And the last one, the next one is about reporting and bidding and integrations with our media activation platform. So right now we are already able to integrate Google Analytics for events and conversions into Google Ads for bidding and also for reporting purpose. So it's already able to do that right now. For DV360, the launch will be very soon. So we believe that in next year, you are able to connect DV360 with GA4, for example, conversion settings. And also previously, we are only able to connect DV360 from GA360, which means they are all the enterprise version, and then you can log into, you can connect GA360 with DV360. But for GA4, the feature is now able to do that for our free version customers, which means you don't really need to upgrade to GA360, and you can also enjoy the benefit for integrating GA4 conversions into DV360. And also for bidding, it is also available for Google Ads. So you are now able to bid by GA4 conversion if you are using Google Ads. For DV360 is also next year we are expecting to launch the feature for DV360. And also for YouTube ads measurement, actually is quite a challenge when it comes to like impression-based evaluation. because in YouTube you can understand that not all the users will click the ads uh, before they engage with your business. So that's why in GA4 we are also integrate the engage view conversion or engage view clicks, not engage view click, engage view conversions based on the settings from your GA4. So right now you are able to see the conversions, if there's any conversions based on the customers who are watching the YouTube ads, for example, in 6 seconds, and then you can also see the conversions or the user acquisition based on those engage view based engagement, so that you can see whether the customer is seeing your ads and then go to your website and go to your app to have the follow-up engagement. And then GA4 is now able to see that that which is not available in the previous GA version. So if the customer is having a lot of YouTube ads, I think this is also a very beneficial work to integrate or to migrate the usage to GA4. So after all the different, actually, this is not all the features that we launched this year. So if you have any other like interests, you can definitely see our help center, which showing all the latest updates for Google Analytics 4. But in the following section, I would like to share some of the news for our latest roadmaps. So keep in mind that this roadmap is actually only shared to our partners. So please remember not to share and not to distribute it widely. And for all the information, we will also have a better version because this is a introductory version. So if you have any other details you want to understand, feel free to go to the enterprise marketing portal. We believe that there's already have our latest version of the roadmap. But giving you some of the highlights for this year, actually we already launched very many different features in Google Analytics 4, and we are no longer marking GA4 as a beta product right now. So it's already ready to use. And also we are integrating all the different usage and features into GA4 very intensively. So in this year, as we mentioned earlier, we can expect that, for example, DDA model, we are already starting to launch. And also we are starting to work with more integration, like our Google Optimize integration, and also how we can help to do a better migration to from our customers' UA, Universal Analytics, to GA4. So the first part is the features that we are expected to launch in 2021. And in next year, as you can see, we are also trying to make all the integration related features next year. So you can expect a better integration in terms of DV360, CM360, and also our, for example, Salesforce integration will also happen in next year. So if the customer is an enterprise that is integrating those in the Google Analytics, I believe that we can have a test very soon in next year. And also for API related requests, we are also having some integration right now. So measurement protocol is right now an alpha feature, and we are going to release the feature to more customers going forward. So if the customer is using measurement protocol intensively now in the Universal Analytics, feel free to set up or try to log into the alpha program, as you may know, to try the measurement protocol features for GA4. Because this is an introductory version, so if you want to have a better view on all the details, feel free to go to the enterprise marketing portal to have a better view on that. So the next one is talking about next year, right? Because it's already November. We would like to inform you what kind of like strategy and what kind of activities we would like you to work with your customers. So in this year, actually, we are asking our advertisers or asking our existing classic GA users to do the dual tagging into their website, which means they don't really need to remove the tags. Um, we would like to add one more tag, which is the GA4 tag into their website so that they can collect all the informations and enjoy the early access to GA4. In next year, we are going to do a more intensive work on integrating all the features into GA4. So in next year, we are also trying to migrate more and more usage to GA4 so that customer can now consider GA4 as a primary analytic platform, which means we are still not asking our customers to remove their existing their classic GA tags. So if the customer is right now already in the dual tagging setup, it's all fine. So the next step would be using GA4 as their primary platform as much as possible and trying to understand how the customer is, for example, integrating GA into their day-to-day business and how we can help our customers to migrate those use cases to GA4. I think that would be a much more work to do in next year, but would be very well anticipated next year. So if you have customers who are just tagging their websites but not taking actions or not tracking in GA4, remember to remind them, oh, actually we are like going to the next phase for GA4 usage. So encourage your customers to use GA4 more and more and trying to understand what kind of like roadblocker from our customers' perspective and see how we can help them in the future. So in case you are not like very comfortable about that, we are preparing some very simple but also informative way to understand what kind of activities you can drive your customers to. So I will start by the bottom line, which is the tracking foundation. So as we mentioned earlier, we are launching GA4 and activated by asking our customer to do dual tagging. But because GA4 is quite different in terms of tracking foundation, like how they consider, for example, session or events in GA4 and in UA. So which means if the customer is logging dual tagging, but they are not really customizing their tracking, I believe there are many different information or events that we are not really tracking right now. So based on that, I will recommend our customers to check whether the event collection is on parity, whether the customer tagging in the existing GA is also tagging in GA4, and how we can, for example, migrate a use case from UA to GA4 by event parity. And also, I also hear some of the feedback from the market that because we are still waiting for those enterprise feature, for example, roll-up properties, sub-properties. So we are not really understanding how we should set up our customers if they are global clients, very complex account setup in UA, how we can do that. So we actually have some guideline on account structure design. So how we can design a proper structure to our customers so that they can understand if they are going to purchase GA360 in the future, how they are going to benefit their existing setup to migrate to the enterprise version, enterprise feature. So we are also having those guidelines in our help center, and also at the end of November when it comes to the tech details, we are also going to introduce a little bit about the account structure design. But feel free to leverage the existing help center articles to see whether it is helpful, and let us know, give us feedback about that, and what else you will need for advising our advertisers or our customers account structure design. So if we are all well set for tracking foundation, I think the next step would be how we can activate a faster success for our customers to the migration. So I understand that Google Analytics is multi features, and sometimes not only the marketers will use that, but also website owners, app owners will also leverage GA for their day-to-day purpose. But for our majority of our audience, I believe will be marketers. So, and I also believe that if we are able to act on some very early success for GA4 use case, actually you are able to persuade our customer further on doubling down the investment and also activities in GA4. That's why we are recommending customers to start thinking about audience migration and go to conversion migrations, because those are very critical to our marketers. So it is coming from a proper event setup, right? So if we are setting up, for example, event A in event collection in the existing GA, but that is not in GA4, that would cause a problem when it comes to audience migration, right? So remember to when it comes to migrations, event parity would definitely a first thing we should do. But the second thing will be about enabling Google Signal in GA4, which is very powerful resources and features to integrate all the different informations, like cross-platform information, into a single view. So if the customer is able to enable Google Signals, we will definitely encourage them to enable that. And also, because we mentioned earlier, GA4 is now ready to do Google Ads linking. So which means we are also encouraging our customers to integrate those conversion and audience signal from the existing GA to GA4. And if the customer is all satisfying on the migration, I think the last one would be about a more technical setup. For example, measurement protocol. If the customer would like to migrate their API usage from UA to GA4, it's definitely a time start to think about how we can migrate those features from the existing GA to GA4. And also data import, we are already launching some features, and more to come in the next upcoming months. So if the customer is right now using data imports, definitely worth migrating that to GA4 as well. And the last one in here is the user ID setting. I believe it's also very useful and helpful when it comes to data integration, because previously in the classic GA, we are creating a separate view to user ID if the customer is sending that to Google. But right now we are integrating that into a single view right now, which means if the customer is able to provide us their user ID, not the PII, not the email address, but the user ID that they set from their website and from their apps, we are now able to collect them as a first priority in terms of reporting, and also all the integrations in the future. So this is also very beneficial for customers business who is having some login mechanisms to integrate user ID into GA4. Okay, so it is already 40 minutes since our last the first session. So it's coming to the end of our sharing this today. So some really good resources that we want to mention and bring it to you right now. The first one is a GA4 holiday checklist. So Black Friday is coming in, right? And if the customer is a e-commerce customer, it's worth try to collect the massive information right now. So feel free to leverage the GA holiday checklist from the enterprise marketing portal. This is a very short list that you can share to the customers to ensure all the setup is correct. The second one is also being asked for many of our partners, which is the Universal and Google GA4 comparison in terms of like use case comparison, what kind of things we can do in Universal Analytics, and how it's compared to GA4. This is also available now. So this should be a very useful information to your customer conversation, and also worth noting that we will have another version for the GA360 once it's launched in the future. So we will end the sharing right now, but we are open to answer some of the live question in the upcoming time. So I just want to share to you the next one will also be me. I'm sharing to you all the enterprise feature next week. And also, if you are also our sales partners, feel free to join our sessions next week to understand more about the upcoming pricing for GA4. And also for the end of the November, we will have the technical deep dive on GA4 migrations. If the customer is trying to migrate their use case from UA to GA4, what kind of things you should aware of, we will share that in the later session. Okay, so let's move on to Q&A session. I will try to answer some of the questions from the Q&A. Let me see. Okay, so the first question is, when will GA4 audience export to Google Ads Manager be rolled out? Yes, so publisher use case is definitely also one of the biggest consideration to our product. But for the ads manager integration, I believe is laying to the second half of the year, next year. So after that, we will definitely share more information once it's done. Okay, hi Billy. So reporting in GA4 is still far from satisfaction compared to classic GA. Will we get a big upgrade in reporting capability in UI in 2022, or we can only rely on BQ to build report to mimic classic GA? So some things to mention to Billy, I believe you're also aware, but in case you don't know, in GA4 there are because we don't have limitation in data collection. Previously, we have some limitation if the customer is GA free. We are limiting the data collection volume from a monthly basis. But in GA4, we no longer have those limitation in terms of data collection. That's why when it comes to generating reports from our GA4, is sometimes it will have a little bit slowed down to the existing compared to the existing GA, and also in terms of the what we call exploration feature. Previously, we call that an analysis feature. Right now, we call that exploration because some customers are really logging many events from the website and from the app. That's why sometimes it's not really fast, as I know. I think for the improvement, we will definitely share that information to our product team. But also, we'll need your help if you are engaging with our internal teams. Feel free to leverage those channels to give your feedback so that our product can well known from different angles. Yeah, thank you. The next one, will MP support all event collection, including automatically collected event? So MP stands for Measurement Protocol, and the question is about whether automatic collected events will also be supported. So because I think if I am not misunderstanding correctly, MP is kind of a separate way for us to send the event back to Google Analytics. So for the automatically collected events, actually it's happened in the JavaScript version from the WebStream data collection, which we call gtag.js. So I believe MP for the measurement protocol use case, you should sending user sending custom events, but not those automatically collected events. Yeah, but let me know if I'm misunderstanding the questions. Okay, Sonia, I've just checked the latest update roadmap slides, and it mentioned GA4 is Google Analytics UA deprecation in Q3 2023. So the UA standard version will also be deprecated. So I believe we are not like officially announce about the deprecation, but it will coming soon. That's the thing I can tell you exclusively for partners. So also remember not to unveil it. But for the deprecation timeline, I don't think we have a concrete answer right now yet. But you can think of it. Eventually, we will have only one GA in the world. So which means the UA, the Universal Analytics, the old version will definitely be deprecated in the future. But for the timeline itself, I don't think we have announced yet. But in the future, we will definitely announce that to our advertisers and also to our publishers. Yeah. Hi, Francis. Hi, James. Thank you for just sharing. Right now, reporting identity in GA4 is defined either solely using device ID or using a combination of Google Signal, user ID, and device ID. Thank you for the question. So also one question, we find that the option to select solely user ID and device ID is useful in some situation. Will it be options be available? So for the first part, there are two different options to when it comes to user identification. The first one is selecting only for user ID, for device ID. So in this way, we will separately integrate that into different ID space so that web and app stream will not integrate together. If we are using like the combination of user ID, Google Signal, and device ID, we will have a priority. So the first priority will be user ID. So if the customer is sending user ID from both set of the data, we will integrate that as a single user. And we will fall back to Google Signal, which means if the customer is not sending user ID, but at the same time in Google Signal, we identify that device A and device B turns out to be the same users, we are going to integrate that into the single view. The last one will be device ID and cookie ID. Yeah. Chi Chong, the question is there going to be a similar feature to classic view because client want separate mobile apps from website data without needing to apply segment each time? So if the feature is about segmenting website web view into different ways, I believe you will have to segment by data stream, because from data stream you are able to segment them into different reporting views. But I'm sorry to tell you that right now we are not able to separate that if the customer is already integrated into the single property. The only way is to use segment to do that. And also we are going to launch sub-property and roll-up properties for our enterprise version, but that is not working in this way. So so basically, if the customer is integrating their app and web data into a single property, I think the best choice is to use segment for separating those features. But you can definitely save some report, like create some reports from because right now you are able to create custom reports from GA4. You can definitely create one reporting view for app and one reporting view for app. So separate them into a one-time reporting building activities. Yes. Okay, Fade, the question is, will GA4 have some similar to country level filtering by view in GA3? Yes. So if the customer is logged because first of all, country level filtering, if the event is having IP addresses, or we can identify the geolocations, we are able to separate them by countries. But at the same time, if that kind of setup is not a proper run to customers like business and go, I believe rollout property and sub property will be the options for our enterprise customers. Okay, Udam, hi. The customer received an email asking for consent to Firebase for GA update. Does the customer have to agree unconditionally? Is there any problem with the current use of UA and upgrading? Have to agree unconditionally. Any problem with the current usage of GA when upgrading? So I can answer you the second question first. So if the customer is using UA and using GA4 Firebase, you can consider them as a separate system, because GA4 and UA is kind of a separate system, right? So if the customer is upgrading their GA4 Firebase into GA4, actually is upgrading those separately, is not affecting the UA usage. So for the first question, does the customer have to agree unconditionally? I would say if the customer is using GA4 Firebase, actually, if the customer also want to integrate their web data and app data together, I would say GA4 would be the choice, and then he or she should be upgrading. Yeah. Okay, Sandish, do you have a standard template for migrating events from UA to GA4? Currently, the support documents are too generic. Okay, so I think for event migration, there are several level of actions or activities to do. The first one is from the system perspective, because in UA, we are tracking them by, for example, event category, event label, event action, that kind of labeling. But in GA4, we open it to into a parameter perspective. So from that kind of perspective, you can do the migration based on, for example, those architect, based on those hierarchy to GA4 by the parameter. But also there are a layer of like business, like what kind of verticals we are using right now, right? So we are also having some vertical-based event naming recommendation. But for migrating events, I believe, because like there are so many possibilities for the migration, so I would definitely defer to partners, your help, to guide our customer on this. But we will definitely share more information if we like generating some best practices among verticals. Mingyun, the question is, what is the logic of user identification prediction modeling for the unconsented people? Okay, so this is about consent mode. I didn't mention previously, but consent mode is if the customer is, if the user, I'm the website user, for example, if I'm not agree on cookie collection, for example, our advertisers, our website owners are able to enable consent mode to send the events back to Google Analytics without user identification. And for the unconsented people, those data will send by not really aggregated, but without user identification. So which means we are receiving a pack of data that is, I don't know who it is. So in that area, we are going to build a machine learning model to like try to match those unconsented users and those consented users, and what is the differences and what is the similarity, and try to mimic the previous actions to our unconsented people. That is the logic behind that. Two, the question is, will the data show immediately in GA4 after movement in the website, or how long will there be delaying? So I believe there are a few hours for data processing, and also there are like real-time reports from GA4 that you can see the events right away if the customer is already tagging. And but I just want to let you know, we are not really doing the movement. We are actually asking customers to tag their websites, right? So tagging additional tags, which means in the classic GA, you are seeing one event. In the GA4, you are seeing another event. So this is basically what we recommended. So we are not really moving that, but we are like replicating that. You can think of this. But in terms of the delaying, reportings usually have hours of delay, but we also have the real-time reports for the data processing. Yeah. Okay. Gwen, the question is, will GA4 support parameter terms and content which are support in UA in the near future? Parameter terms and content, is that so it is a UA UTM parameter. If the question is about how we can get the information from the reporting for this UTM features, actually we are actively discussing from the product level how we can show the result from our data collection. So right now I don't have the proper answer to this, but it's definitely in our products consideration. We will share more information to you. Okay, it seems like a follow-up question. So I think the question is more around whether choosing only user ID and device ID as reporting identification would be an option. I don't think it's possible right now because user ID seems an option only when you are trying to integrate that. Yeah, so I think the question is basically because UA we have the user ID view, right? So you want to understand user ID view separately, but I don't think it's possible right now in GA4. If I'm saying that wrong, maybe after like at the end of November, our the other team can correct me. Okay. Yes, the Rossi mentioned that maximum event data retention for GA4 is only 14 months. Will there be an extension? Okay, so for the free version is 14 months. For the paid version, for the GA360 version, it will extend to 50 months if I'm recorded correctly. So if the customer wants to have a longer period of time, two options. One is like save them by BigQuery. The other one is like upgrade it to enterprise version. Okay, Yamada, the question is, are you planning to deploy the import segment feature provided by import segment feature in okay. So it's more like a app related questions. So yeah, I don't think I've actively realized there is an option to from the Firebase. I realize there is a segment features and Firebase, but I'm not sure whether there's consideration to submit to do that as a follow-up like features. But let me check internally and see if there's any materials or discussion around this. Okay, I think we are right on time, so I can answer the one last question. So feel free to answer the question in our next session, even though it is talking about enterprise. So the last question is there a Google standard detailed documentation guide for UA to GA4 migration? Yes, we are definitely preparing for that. I believe there's already some articles from the Help Center to talk about the migration, but more to come in the future. Okay, so thank you for the time. I believe I answered quite a lot of questions, so hopefully it's satisfying like 80% of your questions or concerns. Thank you so much again for joining. So next week we will talk about GA360. Okay, see you soon. Bye.